feels like more than 500 change horsepower to me. Maybe it's just because all the torque's at the bottom end. One episode of Jay Leno's Garage, the car we're featuring today, my 2002 Z06. If it looks a little different, because this is a concept car called the Tiger Shark. I'll tell you, there's a fascinating history of this car. In fact, I once parked it for like 2 years. I got so frustrated, we couldn't find a problem. We were getting an evap code. You know, we drive it, and then, we'd go to reduce power. I couldn't figure out what it was, and I'd pull over, and I'd pop the gas cap. And then it'd be fine. Oh, that's what it is. Okay, I got a problem there. It's not venting or something. No, but that wasn't it. Then we replaced the canister and the valve. That wasn't it. I finally tracked down a terrific Corvette mechanic named Donnie York. He found it in the door, in the connector. There was something causing the car not to ground properly and was shorting out. I mean, we brought in everybody, and Donnie was the only guy who could do this and fix it for us. So. And now I love the car again. So it's great. But it's got a fascinating history. I'm going to bring in a gentleman now who was involved with this car pretty much since the beginning. Paul Rivera. Come on in, Paul. Good to see you, my friend. Paul is one of these guys who kind of works with, I know you work with McLaren and everybody in the business. This car was built by a company, you were with Tecstar, right? And wheel to wheel.
That's correct.
Jeff Beisel was a good friend of ours. He started a company in '99.
Yep, the late 90s.
Late 90s, working with GM primarily.
Yeah. And this car is a really unique car. It's a super rare car. There's a lot to unpack here, as we said, right? And I think that the first thing we need to talk about is just the original C5, right? Because the car itself was an incredible car. When the C5 came out, right, it was a convertible, right? And the C5 had an LS1 engine in it, 345 horsepower in it originally, right? And what happened was, as time evolved in the late 90s and General Motors started to talk about the idea of doing something special with the Corvette, they wanted to make sure that they didn't touch the price point, because the C5 had a price point of just under $40,000. And you have here something that was really cool, because they started to introduce some things that were really unique. So the first thing that you start to notice when we talk about the base car is GM introduced the FRC, the fixed roof coupe, right? And that was unique. And then when they started to talk about putting a Z51 package back into the car, you could order the Z51 package, but to do that, they took about 80 pounds out of the car. So that was a really cool idea. And then they put an LS6 engine into the car. And then they reintroduced the moniker. They put Z06 back into line. And they hadn't used Z06 since 1963.
Right. That was the legendary car that took on the Cobras. And,
that's right. Yeah. That was a track ready.
Right.
That was a track ready car, right? And so now all of a sudden, you're starting to talk about a C5, Z06, Z51 package that had a fixed roof coupe. There were some other things that were unique about the C5. Remember, that was the first time that the throttle was, was a wire, drive-by-wire throttle, right? And it had the heads-up display, as you know. It had tandem windshield wipers instead of opposing windshield wipers. So there were some really cool things. It just started out with the car to begin with. And the first year that the Z06 came out, and it had the LS6 engine in it, had a 385 horsepower engine. But 1 year later, that LS6 engine went to 405 horsepower.
Right.
So this vehicle, as it sat before we ever touched it, was a 405 horsepower LS6 engine, right, that had a speed of 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds.
Right.
And really, really cool car. And you could get it with black interior, or black interior.
Right.
Yeah, that was it, right? And it was a 6-speed manual transmission. So that was the base. But then we took it, and the whole idea at the time when Jeff Beitzel got involved and when we got involved at Wheel to Wheel was that GMSVA at the time was thinking, well, let's create something that is even more unique. And the idea of Tiger Shark came about. And the original thought was going to be that if we changed the look of the car and if we upgraded the powertrain even more, we would have something that ultimately the GM organization could sell through their special parts organization. And we started to play with the powertrain. So the very first thing we did is we took the LS6 engine and we bored a 4-inch bore.
Right.
And we changed the stroke to a 4-inch stroke. And we put Lunati crankshaft in there, right? And we put in a specially designed exhaust system that wheel-to-wheel powertrain had designed. It was a 4-in-1 with a 3-inch collector.
Right.
And if you look in the back, when we get to the back of the vehicle, you can see that it has a specially designed Corsa touring exhaust system on it. And so we took this powertrain and took it to a 6.6 liter, 525 horsepower powertrain, and the speed was better than 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds.
Right.
It was very, very unique. And then you start to look at the Tiger Shark package. And so what you have here is you have a front fascia that is completely different than any other Vet out there. It has a chin spoiler.
That's about the third one. I've torn a bunch of these off.
It is very, very low.
Right.
I remember getting phone calls from you, by the way, about this. and as recently as only a couple months ago, too, your team called and asked if there's any replacement for it. And on the inside, if you open up the doors, you can see that there's, carbon fiber door sills. And there's special leather packaging that's on the inside of the vehicle, right? So, I mean, there's some unique things that were on the inside. And then, of course, the rear fascia with the Tiger Shark tail.
Right.
And then the European-style tail lights that were in the back, too.
Yeah.
So very, very different vehicle, and it's the only one that exists today.
Right.
Right? I mean, there's bits and bobs and parts, Jay, that are out there. And there was some GM execs and wheel-to-wheel execs that had some of these parts put on their cars.
Right.
But the program never went on.
Right.
And so you have the only one. So tough to put a value on this car, even for Donald Osborne, tough to put a value on this car.
Yeah, and plus, that original engine, I think we blew it up twice. Yeah.
Yes, thanks for reminding me of that.
No, that's nobody's fault. But it was, now we have in it a 427 LS7 crate motor, and that's great. That evap problem was so annoying because you drive it and reduce power. Now I'm going 40 on the freeway. People are yelling at me, and we just couldn't figure out what it was. And luckily, Donnie traced it to a connector in the door. It was shorting out of ground. I mean, nobody could find it. Couldn't find it using the onboard diagnostics, coming up the evap code, replace valve. We're just going through everything. I would park it for months just trying to figure out what was wrong. So once again, Donnie, thank you, my friend. He's the guy that and how we tracked it down, I don't know. But yeah, he did it. Now it's a wonderful car. I mean, I really enjoy it now. It's fast, it handles. It's that classic front engine Corvette, with all kinds of torque. It's amazing. The bottom end on this car is really incredible.
Yeah, and it's pretty balanced for a Corvette too. That was one thing that also changed when you got to C5. It became a pretty balanced
Yeah, they had
car.
the transaxle.
That's right.
And it really became a modern supercar.
Yeah.
And we almost have to thank Dodge for coming out with the Viper, because that got GM off its rear end to kind of, hey, we got to do, because they were happy, 345, that's fine, because there was no competition. And I've got another C5, a 99. I love that car. It is just a wonderful road car. You can put tons of luggage. You go to Home Depot in it with that, put a piece of lumber back. It's great. It's great. So there was no reason to go for more power until competition came along, and then the whole horsepower thing started. Yeah, but I remember when this first came out, as the Z06. Was the first generation 435 horse? Or it was 385, you said?
It was the first LS6 was 385.
Right.
For 1 year.
Right.
And then it moved to the 405.
Oh, 405.
Yeah.
But that was like 405. It's unbelievable.
Right.
400 horsepower. It's only 20 years ago, or it's a long time ago.
Well, I have to walk down memory lane.
Yeah. If you're at my age, it's yesterday. If you're your age, it probably seems a long time ago.
It seems like yesterday for me too.
I know, it's amazing.
But some of the other thing that's really cool about it, Jay, when they put the FRC, the fixed roof coupe, together, one of the things that started to really advance was the fact that this FRC actually added quite a bit of stability to the car, right? Because there's a lot of rigidity that was created by putting this fixed
it's like
roof.
an arch, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and in fact, some reports say that it added up to 12% rigidity to the vehicle. And there's a writer, and you may know him, but there's a writer from Vet Magazine and from Motor Trend. His name is Scott Teeters. Maybe you know him. And in 2016, he wrote that Corvette lovers up until 1980, basically, their only options for special Corvettes were just a powertrain upgrade, right? That was basically it. And then 90 is when the ZR1 came out, right? It was really when the fixed roof coupe came out that's when this whole start of all of the new evolution of Corvette the engineering started to really improve, because that's when there was all of this racing style tubular design. The steel between the front and the back started to come into play, creating more rigidity and more of the racing style.
Let's show them under the hood here. As I said, right now we've got...
You got your LS7 in there now.
LS7. And again, some cool features inside here. On that side, under the battery, look, open that tray. Remember that?
Yeah.
I thought that was a real cool place to store.
A little storage.
Yeah, under there, so.
A little carbon fiber, a little storage.
Right, a lot of carbon fiber, yeah. And this LS7, obviously same size, so it drops right in, but it's great. I mean, this is a bulletproof motor. I think this is one of the best Corvette motors of all time, the LS7. 427 cubic inch small block, which, back in the day was based on the 396, and now it's based on the small block, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I always liked that because you could keep things there. And people go, where's the battery? They'd be hunting in the back underneath. And I mean, that just lifts right up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it comes right out.
There you go, the battery underneath there. But
yep.
Does that even make that piece anymore? Because I think that's such a great piece.
Yeah, it's a great idea, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Pretty slick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, my favorite thing, whenever you read the Car and Driver, Road and Track, Motor Trend, they do a shootout. It's always Porsche and Corvette, maybe Lamborghini, but you rarely see Ferrari or anybody else these things, because people aren't afraid to drive these like Porsches, It's not unusual to see them with 80, 90,000 miles on them and still, still going strong,
Yeah.
And these are really not bulletproof engines, but it's as good as you're going to get, I think. Because you can just drive them and drive them. My buddy's got one. He's got 100,000 miles on it. Doesn't smoke, works fine, changes the oil. They're wonderful. It's terrific cars.
They last forever.
Yeah. And the C5 was really the greatest Corvette up to that point, just in terms of engineering and going for more sports carness, as opposed to just front engine, transmission, the whole deal, nicely balanced car. My 99, it's just the nicest driving car, comfortable. And this thing is a beast. It's a lot of fun to drive on the street. We'll take it out in just a minute. What else is there? Well, the wheels, I think, are unique to the car.
Yeah, I mean, the wheels were unique as well, and also obviously the Brembo brakes were cool. I mean, it's like I said, the paint, the Millennium Yellow paint, the PPG Millennium Yellow paint was unique to the vehicle as well.
Right.
Everybody saw you coming, right?
Yeah.
So this was unique to it. So, And like we said before, the taillights are very different because, as you can see, this is the European style taillights.
Right.
This is not typical here.
Right.
Right. So this is very different as well. So just, again, very, very special.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this thing sat for 2 years. I was so frustrated. We couldn't get anybody to figure out. And the onboard diagnostics kept coming up, evap code, you know, blah, blah. I was like, so what are we doing here? And I thought, is the gas tank plugged? Is it crossover? It drove us nuts. So, Donnie, again, thank you.
I'm sorry you were frustrated. I'm glad it was something
No, that's
that
okay.
was more simple than,
Yeah.
and less complex, let's say.
I know. But and this car's 20 years old, and it was a pretty complex problem.
I'm glad that you still drive it.
Oh yeah, no, I love it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This is the one you just go out and tear through the hills with, you know.
Let's do it.
I've ripped that splitter off 3 times. That's the last one I had. I bought a couple of extras, so I think we should take her for a spin and see what she does.
All right, let's do it.
Let's close the hood.
So cool. That's not old, that's traditional.
Huh?
That's not old, traditional.
Traditional.
Traditional. I mean, you look at even this though. This at the time was this was amazing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I was talking to somebody young on the show, like 19, and I said, "Where's the car key?" Car key?
Right.
The key said car. Well, I got a fob.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. You know, that's just it was like what? What?
And then you used to leave the car keys like either on the wheel, like you leave them on the wheel, or you leave them on the windshield wiper. Remember? And now that's all gone now.
Yeah, that's all. Forget that. This motor has so much bottom end to it. Oh, it breaks loose.
It does.
The greatest accessory is the one on the Ford GT. It's hydraulic. You hit the button, the front end, bang, comes up like that. You know, every
So
other
it's not
car
slow? It's not like the C8 where it's nice and slow. It comes up fast.
comes up fast. Yeah.
Wow. I love that car though. That car is a beautiful car.
Which from the Ford
The
GT.
GT, yeah, I love that.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about your black and orange one.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
17. Yeah.
You know, the other cars.
I'm surprised Ford was able to do so much with it just as a V6. That's what's amazing to me.
I know. Well, that's the new V8, I guess. But this is such a torquey motor. I mean, this pulls so nicely.
Yeah.
It feels like more than 500 change horsepower to me. Maybe it's just because all the torque's at the bottom end.
And the one we had in it was even better. I mean, it really did a good job, right?
Right.
I remember it would surprise you that when you were sitting at a traffic light and you would push on the accelerator.
Right.
It really would surprise you because there was nothing like that at the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? The LS6 even at the time with the 411 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.9. That was a lot at that time.
I know.
You know?
I remember when anything under 10 seconds was a lot. I remember you read road tests of MG, 0 to 60, 17.1. Not bad. You know, really? Really now.
And now you get in your Tesla and it's like 0 to 60 in less than 2.
I know.
1.9 seconds. It's crazy.
Amazing?
I mean, even the Lucid. Have you driven a Lucid Air?
Yeah.
That's crazy. responds so well, right? This is such a nice drive.
Yeah. The weak point now with the tires, they're a little old, so you just shred them anytime you get on it.
So it was an aspirational thing.
Well, it really pulls nicely, doesn't it? I'm just trying to keep the tires from breaking loose. They just break loose and...
Yeah, these tires aren't gummy because they've been sitting, like you said.
Right, yeah. But you've got so much torque in any gear. But these are really the best sports car value for the money of any car you can get. Even the new
I
C8.
think so. The C8.
How they can sell that at $70,000 it's unbelievable to me. And I know people have bought them. I know some guys have bought them at list. You know, obviously this dealer markup and all of that. But the fact that they can even build it for that is unbelievable to me.
It is. With the amount of technology that's in that car, it's incredible. And it's such a well-designed car. The look of it's incredible.
Because, you know, I thought, okay, it's going to be something. It'll be a torque converted transmission. It'll be steel instead of aluminum or magnesium. No, none of that.
No.
It's, you know, I think it's the equal to any of the Europeans.
And then the Z06, to be able to do what it does, the new Z06. 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds is incredible for a naturally aspirated vehicle.
I know.
It's absolutely amazing. It's like where the technology has come today is unreal. At it's a supercar for a price that's not supercar pricing.
Right.
Although these guys are trying to charge it on a premium.
Yeah.
But I love my C8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a Rapid Blue with the black nacelles and the carbon fiber. I almost drove it over because I thought that it would be cool to kind of say, look at where the technology's come. But this car, you know, we achieved almost what that car has in it, you know, back in 99, 2000, right? It's like crazy.
It's such a torquey motor, this thing. It just...
At all levels, too, right? All the way through the ride. It's great.
Exactly.
Right? It's a fantastic ride.
You know, this is probably the last generation, well, maybe the C7, where outside suppliers could modify it, because I don't think there's much you can do to a C8, is there?
No, I mean, when you look at the technology that's inside that C8, it's pretty incredible, right? And you know I have one, and I love that car.
Right.
And what General Motors has done to that car is unreal, right? 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds in launch mode. It's fantastic. And it's just a feat of engineering. But, you know, 20 years ago, if you think about it, we accomplished at Wheel to Wheel and Tecstar a lot with this vehicle and got pretty close, right?
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's a great ride, right?
Jeff Beitzel was one of those guys. He seemed active, he seemed young, and then all of a sudden I saw him one day and he looked horribly sick and he had gotten leukemia, but literally it struck within, well, in between when I saw him, which was probably a few months, but it was so shocking to see this sort of frail old man, you know. I said, geez, what happened here? I didn't even recognize him when he came in.
Yeah, and it was very quick. And you know, Jeff was a brilliant car guy.
Yeah.
And he touched a lot of lives. And I don't know if you know the background, a little bit of the story of Wheel to Wheel, because a lot of people think that Wheel to Wheel, that the history of Wheel to Wheel is that it's the engineering from the front wheel to the back wheel, and that's how the company was named.
Right.
But the company was founded in the late 90s, as you know, and the company was really meant to be around wheel to wheel, like in race car driving.
Right.
Like that's what the company's name was about, right?
Right.
So Jeff started the company with 3 other guys, Rich Anderson, Doug Goad, and Dan Van Auken. And Jeff came out of Ford Motor Company. That was where he originally cut his teeth. He was in powertrain engineering, so he was an engine guy, and then he had a great eye for vehicle design too, and you know that. Right? And Wheel to Wheel, they did a lot of powertrain design, they did concept development, they did vehicle engineering, and then what happened is as time went on, there was this need for different OEMs to find a way to have special vehicle programs.
Right.
And have limited editions. And Jeff's first brush with a special vehicle program was actually at a company called PAS prior. And there he worked on the 20th anniversary Trans Am.
Right. Okay.
And he worked on putting the 3.8 liter engine into the 20th anniversary Trans Am with another company called Triad.
Okay.
And they did that first. And he first saw the idea of second stage manufacturing. This whole idea that, you know, the OEMs could find a way to take the vehicle offline and do these special projects, right, that they were unable to do in their plant, right? So then fast forward, he creates Wheel to Wheel in the late 90s. He's doing all of this powertrain engineering. He's doing all this concept development with Wheel to Wheel. And General Motors came along and was a huge customer along with other companies, but GM primarily. And GM had a real need with their S10 pickup truck.
Right, I remember this, yeah.
The very first program that was super, super successful was the S10 Extreme.
Right.
And that's how Tecstar was born.
Right.
And so Wheel to Wheel would do all of the different design and engineering and all of the concept development and the powertrain kind of stuff and all of the different validation and engineering side. And then Tecstar would put all of those concepts into production for General Motors. And we would set up a plant outside of a GM plant.
Right.
And we did programs like the S10 Extreme pickup truck,
right,
or the Z71 Suburban, the Tahoe, or the SV Platinum Escalade, for example,
right,
and all of SS Trailblazer, SS Silverado. So a lot of different programs, right, along the way. And it was a great time from 1999, 2000, all the way until around 2008.
Right.
All of these programs, thousands of vehicles, right? And we did a lot of cool stuff also in that time period. We were also involved in all of the pace cars for Indianapolis,
right,
as you know. We did the Brickyard, we did NASCAR.
Yeah, I drove the Brickyard.
Yeah, the Brickyard. I mean, it was a lot of fun. There was so much fun in that time. It was so much fun working with Jeff, and he touched so many people. And then, as time went on, a lot of those big programs became more and more successful, and a lot of those programs started to get brought in-house,
right,
by the OEMs, right? And
so they don't need you anymore.
That's right. That's right. And Jeff became sick at the same time. Jeff
right, became
sick, as you know, and it was kind of like that. The two things happened at the same time. Jeff became sick in 2008. Those programs were all being brought in-house.
Right.
And sadly, it was the end of an era.
I know.
It was the end of an era. And it was a time in my life, Jay, that I'll never forget. I got to meet a lot of great people, including you.
Okay.
And
sorry about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe I've known you for 20 years now.
I know.
And this is a walk down memory lane, but I'll never forget what Jeff did for me personally, what that company did for me personally, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way about Jeff.
I'm not even putting it all the way to the floor because these tires just shred even at 60 miles an hour. This is more like just a track car, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing that's different about like a C8 or a Z06 today is it's all up in the paddles now, instead of this.
Well, Paul, thanks for helping me relive the memories of getting this car and putting it together. And I have to admit, I forgot how rare it was. It really is a one of a kind. So it's been a lot of fun. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
And he's been involved with McLaren and the P1, and so he knows his stuff. So if you have a problem, give him a call. He'll take care of it for you.
Thanks, Jay.
So there you go. There you go. But anyway, hey, listen, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this little look at this kind of one-of-a-kind Corvette. And I'm going to go drive it. See you later.